What's going on, everybody? How you doing? My name is Tim Jedrick. I'm with Right Rudder Marketing. We got some people joining in right now here. I'm not sure if people connecting audio and all that here. So this is a webinar. This is the webinar about how we ranked our flight schools on top of Google. And it's really a great opportunity to kind of see what we do at Right Rudder Marketing here, what we do for our flight schools, what we do with our partners, and how we actually do that. So, there's a lot of strategies that are involved when you're thinking about, marketing, and you're thinking about how to actually rank your website on there. And what I want to do really quick, before I go deep dive and all that stuff here, I'm going to share right here. This is a diagram that we shared, I think in January, we did our webinar for your marketing plan, making a plan for 2024. And we kind of went over the different signals that go to Google. So these are different signals over here that go to Google. I know we're also on Facebook Live too here. So I know that you guys can't see it, but if you join the link, you might be able to, we'll record it later and all that stuff. But in the background, there's the screen. I can share it here as well. Let's see if I can do this really quick. So just to deep dive in here, these are different, I guess, signals that go to Google, right? So, 10 and 13% is your off-page optimization, So if you read closely here, it says, the Google business. So that's what we're going to focus on today is the Google business. It's a significant portion of SEO. So there's no magic bullet. The one thing I would emphasize here is there's no magic bullet when it comes to SEO. There's no, I'm going to do backlinks. I'm going to do paid ads. I'm going to do whatever it is. You can't really do one strategy and expect it to launch you to the top of Google. There's so many different types of signals out there that we have to consider. So you have your Google business listing here. You also have citation listings. So citation listings, think about Yelp, think about Apple Maps, think about Bing Maps, think about what's some other ones out here. I think there's another one for flight school specifically where it's called aviationbest.net or something like that. Also, your local airport, if your local airport probably has a website as well, you can list your business there. But there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different directory listings that we actually list our flight schools on. It's not just the Google business. There's a lot more that's into it, but we're going to focus on the Google business, but I do want to go to the rest of the circle here because I do think it's worth mentioning because we're only going to talk about this 10% right now. But there's the whole other 90% of content out there of different levers you can pull, right? And maybe in the future webinar, we'll go over the next one. Maybe it's citations and directory listings. Maybe it's going to be talking about website design and all that type of stuff. But there's so many different types of signals out there to Google that's out there. So the next one over here, we talked about citation listings. We talked about Google business. Another one that's really very strong that we also really talk to our flight schools about is these reviews. So this is the reviews right here. By the way, so I know we have a lot of people joining in here. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, if you guys can see what I'm saying and all this stuff. If you have trouble viewing it, you guys are good. Let me see, where's the chat in here? Do you have a chat in here? You got some thumbs up? Okay, cool. All right, so you guys at least see my screen. So yeah, let's keep going here. So you have your social media now. So social media takes about 2 to 5% roughly. It's not the biggest kind of needle pusher, but it is definitely out there. So we recommend everyone have at least set up their profiles, set up their Facebook, set up their Instagram. TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, but a lot of flight school students, a lot of prospects, especially the younger crowd, from high school, coming from whatever, they're going to be on TikTok, right? They're going to be on all that type of stuff. If you're more focused on the older crowd, LinkedIn is a really good one to add in there too. So this is another one to add there. Off links. So 18 to 21% is your kind of like your backlinks. That's another way to say it. So you're thinking about different partnerships, different associations that you might be involved in. Maybe you did an event. Maybe your flight school shared something where you presented at like a high school expo. Make sure you're trying to get on their website. So sometimes they have an event link. Get that link on your website. there's another one that's also there. If you recently purchased a Piper Pilot and you have like, I think 3 or 5 of them in your fleet, you're part of a Piper club. And this Piper club basically is you get a link on the Piper website. So that's another thing too, but just keep searching for opportunities where you can do backlinks to your website. That's kind of an ongoing thing. And it kind of parallels with your citations and all that stuff. And citations and directory listings, they kind of go hand in hand as far as, backlinks and directory listings. Over here on the right here, if you want to add it, it's like 15, 25, almost 50% or more is your infrastructure. This is your website. So it's looking at if it's mobile first, it's making sure that it's fast, make sure you have HTTPS in there, making sure that you have the right page speed in there. This one right here is your keywords it's talking about, making sure that you have your H1, H2, H3 tags. We do have a keyword checklist that we're publishing pretty soon as well that has a bunch of keywords that you can kind of implement for your own purposes over there. Then on-site content, so continually pushing content on there. And the last 20% is your engagement. So that's like, people clicking on your website, people clicking your social, people doing all that stuff. So we're only going to be focusing on this 10, 13% today, but I just want to give you guys kind of a bigger picture of what are the signals to Google? What are the things that you need to look for when you're kind of do SEO on your own, right? Because at the end of the day, the reason why we do these webinars is to give you guys the information, to give you guys the content, to give you guys the understanding and knowledge that you need to help rank your flight school on the top of Google, right? So let's talk about Google Business Profile. So who here has a Google Business Profile? Anyone out there? You got reading AI notes in here. No one has a Google Business Profile. Okay, that's cool. I'm pretty confident that most flight schools have a Google Business Profile. So what is a Google Business Profile? I'm going to give you a quick example here. So this is the Right Rudder Marketing website here. Or Right Rudder, if you just search like Right Rudder Marketing on Google, you'll see this right here. And this section here is an example of a Google Business Profile. It's that thing that's on the right. Can anyone give me a city to call out? Anyone want to kind of volunteer a city out there, and we can do some searching and see what flight schools we have there?
Riverside.
I want to have a city. Riverside. Let's go Riverside. So let's go first. Riverside, CA flight schools. Let's pull up a list really quick. So we got Riverside Flight Academy. Let's just pull this first one up here. So if we search Riverside Flight Academy, let's take a look at their GMB. So GMB stands for Google My Business. It's also been called a GBP, Google Business Profile. They're synonymous. It's the same thing, So here they have pictures. It has the hours located in. It has the address. Phone number is important. It has the popular times in there. Got some reviews. Then you have the description in here. So this is kind of what I like to focus on here too. So they have flight training. They don't really care about, this is not a keyword. No one's searching for 100 years of experience at a flight school. So it's not really, it might be good positioning on your end, but for the most part, Google's not going to care if you had 100 years of experience, unfortunately. It has private. So they kind of missed out on that keyword. They could put private pilot certificate would be a better keyword. People looked at, or pilot license. Ground school, commercial. Let's see if I can zoom this in so you guys can kind of see it a little better. Multi-engines. Those are all great keywords to put in your Google Business Profile. The one thing they missed out on here that, even though they were #1 in Google, maybe because it's, maybe they were kind of, they've been in business a long time. Maybe they've, been doing this for a while. But one of the things they missed out here is the actual keyword of the location. So one of those things that we want to do is make sure you guys mute yourself if you are you're talking out there. If you have a question though, go ahead and holler at it and talk to the group. But if it's just background noise, please mute. What I was trying to say over here is that they're missing the location. So a lot of things that are really good to add to your Google Business Profile is the description and the keywords for the description. So if it's Riverside, I'm not sure where other localities are here. Let's pull up this thing here. Yeah, Riverside, I would put La Sierra. That was kind of pulled in there. La Sierra, Arlanza, Arlington Heights. These are different keywords that you can add in the Google Business Profile as well. And that description is kind of where it is. What else they got here? Looks like that's about it. They had some previous updates, April 2023. So they're not really signaling to Google that they're relatively recent. They're kind of signaling to Google that they were in business a while. But this is another thing to add in here is updates. They do have a lot of reviews. So reviews is the currency in, I guess, Google business, right? When you think about rankings and stuff like that, having more reviews really helps propel you to the top. So, and this it's twofold because the reviews have keywords. So if they say flight training, they say private pilot, they say whatever, on the review, and then they also add the photo, that really helps Google understand what your business is about. Because the main kind of objective with SEO is really understanding what your business is about for Google to be able to understand it. And then based on the amount of volume you have and the amount of backlinks traffic that you have, they'll start ranking you higher, right? But you need to let them know what you're doing. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything. So, all right. That's their profile here, but that's about it. It's pretty bare, to be honest with you. So they're not really doing the most they can to really push Google Business to the next level. So there's a lot of room for improvement here. So we do have this checklist that we provided here. This checklist. I'm going to go ahead and send this in the chat right now. That way everyone has access to it. You can download it on your own and you kind of review it by yourself. And we're going to go through the checklist one by one. And then after that, we're going to go through some specific examples. From the specific examples, we're just going to show like our profile and also like some of our clients' profiles too. And then we're going to open up the webinar for questions. Maybe you have some questions on Google Business profiles, whatever. And I hope that I can answer them the best, best I can. So let's go through this checklist here. Zoom in a little bit more. That way everyone can see it here. Google Business profile. That's maybe I zoomed in a bit too much here. So business name. So there's actually two names you can put in your Google Business. You have your business name and I believe like an acronym or like a pseudonym or something like that. So make sure it's the exact legal business name. The reason why we say this is because if it ever gets suspended, if you ever have your profile suspended or anything like that, they're going to look for documents. I'm going to get that into later. I'm going to get into that later about verification, about verification about your profile, verification about your business, because sometimes Google will flag you, and then you have to go through this lengthy process. And we kind of document this in the PDF here, how to actually go through that hurdle. Because I've actually talked to, I think it was in Fasana. It was in Fasana in Vegas this year. I was talking to a flight school and I said, hey, do you have your Google Business profile up and running? And they're like, we tried, and then we had to get this verification process done. Basically, they wanted signage, they wanted like logos, and make sure you're legitimate. And the reason they're doing that now is they're really cracking down on businesses and people that are like making multiple profiles and kind of trying to cheat the game. So make sure that you have your exact legal name in there. You have a profile picture you can choose out there, cover photo you can also add. We sometimes you put these pictures up on Google, but then for some reason their algorithm, they'll just choose willy-nilly whatever photo they want to choose for your top. So for example, at Right Rudder Marketing, they have a picture of us when we want a grant, but there's other photos that are in our GMB as well. I'll get into the examples later too. Oh, by the way, so if you don't have a GMB, so this is the link right here. This is if you actually just search, I'll paste the link in the chat, in case you don't have it. But if you just search on Google Business Profile, it's the first thing that you see there. That's the first thing that you see, and you just click it, and you should be able to add your stuff. So for us, Right Rudder Marketing, we have control of a lot of Google Business profiles. We help manage the Google Business profiles on a lot of flight schools. So they have a lot of different ones here. Probably for you guys, it's just going to be one or two. Maybe if you have a touring company or an FBO or maintenance shop, you might have different Google business profiles for each one. But typically you're going to have them listed here too. Okay, let's keep going through this checklist. So categories. So you have your primary category, and the best bang for buck that we've seen for category is flight school. Mainly because that's the main keyword is flight school, right? There is a secondary category that is called, you can choose a lot of different categories. We found the best one to kind of fit for flight schools is Aviation Training Institute. That's the next category. The next thing after that, you're going to have basically, you're going to select a category, and then you're going to have the different services that are involved, right? And typically at that point, the services that are required is, private pilot training, instrument rating, commercial pilot, commercial pilot certificate. It's also, if you do IPCs, IPC is another one. It's all the different services that you offer at your flight school. If you do fuel sales, you can do fuel. That's another one. Add that as a category add that as a service to the to your Google business profile. The next one is make sure you use your address. So some people use like a home address, or maybe maybe it's a new flight school that's just starting out and they choose to do like they register their LLC or their S Corp and their home address, and they use that address. Use the one that's you're actually going to conduct business in, because what's going to happen is your rankings on Google Maps, at least, is going to be based on that address you put. So you want it to be pretty much close to the airport as possible. You could kind of try to hack it your way if you want to maybe change your address to somewhere else, but then that kind of goes with the issue with, we said here earlier, there's that verification process that they're going to go through. So you might be able to slip under, but you might not. You never know, right? So use the business address. This is the short name I was referring to. So, for example, Right Rudder Marketing is, that's our short name, Right Rudder Marketing. But our actual legal name is Right Rudder Marketing LLC. So, take that with a grain of salt, right? Phone numbers. So the next one over here is phone numbers. Phone numbers are, a lot of businesses have multiple phone numbers on their, you might have, the owner's phone number, you might have the customer service phone number. Whatever you're doing for outbound, I would add that phone number in there, but make sure your main inbound phone number is listed as their primary. You can list multiple numbers, and what will happen is if you do list your phone number on Google, at least on Android phones, not so much on iPhones, unfortunately. If you list your phone number on there and you call somebody from that phone number, it will show your business name. There's other ways to do this where you can list your phone number in different directories, and basically when it calls a person, it shows up on your phone as like, hey, Right Rudder Marketing or High Tide Aviation or whatever your name flight school, ABC Flight School calling, there's ways to do that. But the easiest way for at least for half the population with Android is to put on your Google business profile. Website. Make sure you add a link to your website. That's how they know to connect the two things. So you have your GMB and you have your website. And what will happen is if you link your website, then your ranking on Google will link to that website, right? Description is what I kind of started going off of, right? So you gave me an example earlier, Riverside. Riverside was a good example of that. And we looked at, they had some good keywords involved in their description, but they did not have their location. So make sure you have your unique selling points, your services, the main thing really, and the service areas. So that's the next one. The main thing is having service areas, because that really helps Google understand like where you are located and who they should show the results to. So for example, if I'm in Riverside, but I'm, putting my GMV has for some reason St. Louis or something like that, it's gonna find a disconnect. It's gonna feel like, hey, this doesn't really make sense. So you really want to optimize for your location. You want to optimize for where you are. Operating hours. So a lot of flight schools kind of run, and how to explain? A lot of flight schools basically are kind of open whenever. It's whenever they do, because like think about this, like night flight and all that stuff, and cross country time. A lot of times people are going outside office hours, right? But you're gonna want to make sure you put something in there and just don't do 24/7, because it's not gonna help you as much. Another thing to consider, so we kind of went through the main like descriptions and stuff like that. So you have your name, you have your address, and your phone number. That's what's called in the marketing realm as a NAP, NAP. And basically, when you upload or you start putting some directory listings on there, you're going to make sure that your NAP, your name, address, phone number is consistent. So if I'm listing my business on Yelp, if I'm listing my business on, Bing, whatever, I want to make sure that my business has the same name that's displayed. It has the same address and the same phone number. Okay. Next one over here, add photos. So in case you didn't notice this, I'm sure some people did already, but whenever someone leaves a review and they post a picture on that review, um, that picture gets added to your profile. And another thing to kind of consider here too, with the reviews and the photos and adding photos manually as an owner, there's a lot of stuff in the background of a photo. So what I'm talking about is geotagging. So geotagging refers to um, you think about a photo, right? It's a bunch of pixels, right? You have a bunch of pixels there, but they have this like sheet of data that goes with the photo. So for example, they talk about like the camera you used, talk about like the aperture, shutter rate. I mean, those are also included in there. It has like keywords you can even put in there and like kind of mess around. Um, but it also has what's called a geotag, and geotag is really referring to the lats and longs of the photo, where it was taken at. And a lot of times when, our students take pictures, let's say they're wherever, it's usually done on their phone. A lot of people take photos on their phone, probably 90% of people these days. And your phone, if you have location services enabled on your phone with the camera, it will geotag that lat and long to the photo. So sometimes if you go to like your timeline on like Google Photos or Apple Photos, it shows you like where those photos came from. Those are what we're referring to here. So you can also do this manually. There's some software you can use, and we actually use it here at Right Rudder Marketing, where we sometimes program the lats and longs to a photo that maybe not be the direct spot was taken in, but maybe a near area where we're trying to target. So for example, we were looking at Riverside, and another location was Arlington Heights. So if I wanted to optimize for Arlington Heights, I want to get more students from Arlington Heights. I might look at geotagging photos, or I might look at flying over there, and then take a picture while I'm flying safely. That has the lats and longs already pre-programmed into there. So that's one way to do it. Okay, Q&A. So this is probably the one thing I don't see people doing is the Q&A. Q&A is a really good tool to use. It's a way to ask people. It's basically people search you and they can find questions and answers about your business. I find it a lot for like restaurants and other stuff, but for some reason in the flight school industry, no one really asks questions. So what we did at Right Rudder Marketing is we actually had our team members ask questions, and then I went ahead and answered the questions on there, so that way it was like at least we had that segment done. And you can do the same thing for your flight school. You can actually have your front desk or CFIs ask questions, pretending they're because it doesn't have the actual person that it's from. It just has whatever. So you put, for example, how much does it cost to get a private pilot certificate, or what are the training requirements for a private pilot certificate? You can ask those questions onto your GMB. You can have a very formulated response, and add keywords as well on your response, and that should help you with your questions and answers. And we'll go through specific examples later. Service areas, make sure you include all the cities and zip codes that you service. That's pretty basic here. A booking button. I know a lot of people don't like to get people calling them and booking stuff on their calendar. What we recommend is if you have a page on your website for, like, say, a discovery flight, all you got to do is just, rather than actually have the booking and appointment stuff set up through Google, you can just actually send them a link that goes into a page. I believe we have that for Right Rudder Marketing. We did that for us. Products is another one here. So for us, I would just duplicate the services. So this is something also I don't see with a lot of flight schools. No one utilizes the products feature. And what you can do here is actually you can add a link as well to a specific page. So if you want to create a product for, let's say IPC, instrument proficiency checks, you want to have that as your product, whatever. You can, if you have a web page built for just IPCs, you can link into that directly, and you can also add the keywords for, instrument rating, instrument proficiency, currency, and all that stuff. You can add all that stuff onto that product. social links. This is a pretty new one. They for a while they were not doing this. They would scrape the internet and add it automatically. But I think a recent update, which was in January of this year, you're actually able to add your own social link to the your Google Business profile. So that's pretty cool. There's some more stuff in there. So sometimes they have like, are you LGBTQ friendly, Asian owned, whatever, woman owned. You can add, if it's applicable to you, then go ahead and put that on. There's also messaging. I'm cautious with the messaging because one thing you want to make sure is if you do turn on the messaging is you reply extremely fast. If you do not reply a message on Google Business Profile within, let's say, a day or so, that will actually start to hurt your profile. It will start to hurt your rankings. So turn that on if you're able to handle it. But it is if you are able to respond within the day, 4 hours preferably. If you're able to respond to Google Business messages, then it would help a little bit at least. And think about this. So all these different things we're talking about, it only affects 10% of the whole SEO game, right? So just take it all with a grain of salt. Okay. So that's setting it up, right? So that's just creating the profile and getting the basic information out there. Who has questions? Are there any questions on that before we move on to the next part? Thanks for the like over there on Facebook. Anyone have any questions on just on creating a profile? And I gave you that link as well here too, which is no, it's over here. Search it. Okay, no questions on creating a profile. So the next one, all right. So the next one is recurring maintenance. How do we? Oh, you have a question? Go for it. No.
I'm sorry about that. I have a question about the Google Merchant Center. What do you guys think? I don't know if this is a little bit later, but what do you guys think about the Google Merchant Center for the business profile?
It's a great tool
If
to
we want to
use.
sell
So
products,
oh, sorry.
selling products.
Yes. Are you talking about like selling like flights, or are you talking about selling like headsets, or are you talking about selling books? What type of stuff are you gonna sell?
Like headsets and books and other fun stuff like that.
So there is a Shopify integration that we've done for one client where we added the tour, I think either the headsets or the tours to it. And I think based on the category of your Google Business profile, it will only allow you to do either products or allow you to do like paid, like, merchant center. So if you and you have to have it on your website for it to be enabled, I believe. So it's kind of
Oh, okay.
double entendre there. So if you are selling, headsets and stuff, like we have one where I think we did I think it was the one in Kansas City. They sell their Zulu headset center. And so they have a bunch of headsets they were able to put on their Google Business profile. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Let's see if I can pull this. I think they're at Summit Flight is the one we did. That's Summit Flooring. Oops.
Can you
So
switch back to
flight.
your screen?
Yeah, it's right here.
There we go.
I believe this one did not do it, but let's see if I can do another one. Did we do it for high tide? High tide aviation. So here, so we did appointments for them. So this it's definitely customizable. I think there's also it's very similar though for the products and stuff. And here's the thing. Here's my philosophy on it. Really is like something is better than nothing. So if you don't have it at all, then I would add it. That's just my 2 cents on it. You just I believe you click it. The way you set it up is you have to add a link directly to that buying page. So if you have a Shopify store, then you have to link directly to the Shopify page. That makes sense. If you don't have a Shopify for, if you're doing somewhere different, I'm not sure how you would. There's different integrations you can do, but that's the most common one is Shopify.
Oh, okay, I
I
gotcha.
hope that answers your
Okay,
question.
awesome, cool, thanks.
So if you don't have an online store already built in your website, it's not going to work.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Any other questions on starting a business profile? That's a good question. Really appreciate the help. Oh, Raul says if a school has several locations, so every location has its own GMB profile typically. That's typically the what happens there. So if you have if you have I don't know, if you have, let's say, a location in Riverside, another one in San Diego, another one in San Francisco, just going off the California example here, then I would make sure you have multiple GMB profiles for each one, and you're going to want to optimize for each one, and you want to have unique content on each one too. So your description should be different, your hours, it could be the same, but definitely your address and your name might be different. Thanks, Raul. Any other questions on starting a GMB profile? Okay. So we're gonna talk about maintaining it. So remember we saw that one Riverside, I think Riverside Aviation. Their last post was on 2023, which is something that we don't want to do. We want to do at least once a month. So our goal is to at least update our profile once a month. And how do we do that? So one is the most easiest way and the most probably best bang for buck without going in there and editing stuff is your Google reviews. So Google reviews is the best way to do it, to be honest with you. If you can keep getting reviews month after month and keep growing that, that's going to help you the most. What I've seen just on average, just for flight schools, I think most flight schools hover around the 20 range, to be honest with you. Very few get to the 100 range, and about 10%, 15% get to the 50 range. But think about this, you go to a restaurant, right? So let's say you go to a restaurant, or you go to I think people like to leave reviews on restaurants because they like to be like food connoisseurs or food reviewers or something like that. But some restaurants have thousands of reviews. And what happens is, those reviews definitely have a significant part in your SEO game, right? So if your flight school only has 10 reviews and the one down the street or the one next door has 50, think about who's going to show up first. All right, this is kind of, pretty common sense there. Typically, they're going to raise the one that has the most reviews and it's the closest to the person searching. Okay, so review acquisition, make sure you always
strange
solicit for reviews.
People don't
Yes,
review
sir?
flight schools.
Yeah, reviews can be kind of difficult. So we have some campaigns we do here for our flight schools. What we do, and Charles can probably, Charles is a
What are we
good
looking
example.
for?
He helped us write a lot of it. What we did is we basically create a list of all of our past students that might have done a check ride, and our current students that really like us. So you don't want to send this to everybody, because you don't want to
Well,
get a bad
Larson
review
just
either,
did
right?
an update, so if they didn't just do it, then. But
Sorry, I'm not sure if he's talking to us, maybe. So we have what's called a review campaign, and what we do is we curate a list of about, let's say, 50 to 100 students that have worked with us in the past, and we send them this email that says, hey, we really appreciate your business. If you really want to help promote aviation and to other people, leaving a Google review is very helpful to us. So then they'll have a link to the Google Business Profile review, which, by the way, if you don't know how to get that link, I'll just show up an example here, since we're talking about high tide earlier. If you go to like reviews and then get more reviews, it'll give you this link right here. So just heads up on that. There's other ways to get a Google link review. There is other ways to do it, but that's probably the easiest way to do it. So reviews and then get more reviews right there. Copy that link. Copy that link and share it with everybody. All right. Share it with people that actually are going to leave you a good review. If they don't, actually, while we're talking about reviews, let's talk about bad reviews. So every once in a while, we have a bad review. Who here has gotten a bad review on their Google business? I guess everyone here is perfect.
No,
Yeah.
we've had a few people.
How did you combat it? What do you guys do to kind of remedy it? Do you guys reply back or anything like that?
We do sometimes, but sometimes if it's just somebody who's being kind of petty, it's like how to reply back when you know that they're just they just got upset because they didn't get their way, so they're trying to go in there. We had
Sure.
one that was mad because we charge a cancellation fee. If they don't show up, they get charged a fee, and it was like a demo, and they didn't like that. They got charged a fee. So when they
Yeah.
did reschedule and come in, we said if you remove that review and give us a good review, we'll take away the fee. But
Yeah.
usually it's just it depends on what the situation is.
Got it. So there's kind of two things to add to that, right? Well, three things. So first one is if someone is leaving a review and they're being malicious. So maybe you have a disgruntled student. We've had this before in the past. We had disgruntled students. They leave off the wall comments about your flight school. Like we had one that says, "Oh, these people are, smuggling and then doing illegal things, whatever." Obviously they were not, but then the disgruntled student was trying to just tarnish their reputation. In that case, if it is like malicious, then you could actually put some requests into Google. So we did multiple service tickets. We tried calling them. We did emails. We did this with multiple accounts. So I did my account. I have like other Google accounts I use. I also had my team members do the same thing too. Then I also had the flight school do the same thing too. We had multiple pushes towards removing a review. So that is one method. That is one thing to kind of consider when you think about bad reviews. Second one I want to consider is responding to review. So you always want to, it's a really great opportunity to respond to a review there and making sure that, because if you don't respond to a review, basically it kind of just sits there in the dark. And it does provide a good signal to Google if you do respond to a review. So you should respond to the negative review, and you should also respond to all the positive reviews too. The last kind of third tidbit about Google reviews, for negative ones at least, is if you're constantly soliciting for more reviews month after month, right? You're constantly building it up. So imagine this: if I got a bad review, I have, let's say, 5 reviews, right? I have 5 reviews total, and everyone's 5 stars except for one. One says, "Oh, this place is horrible," right? Well, then your average rating is like a 3. So it really tanks it. But let's say you have 50 reviews. You've constantly built this up over time. And you get one bad review. Maybe you went from 5.0 to 4.9 or 4.9 to 4.8 or even 4.9 to 4.9. It might just stay the same because you have so many good reviews. It's not going to, do anything. I will say though, the people look at the bad reviews. So you want to make sure you comment there and be professional and understand you don't really want to make the message towards the person. You want to make the message towards someone who's reading it from a third party. All right. So if it's a disgruntled student says, "Hey, this person, they charged me $75 for a cancellation fee because I didn't show up," right? The way you respond to that message is more focused towards another person that might read this in the future, not to the person leaving the review. Because at that point, if they left you a bad review, who cares about them, right? like honestly, who cares what they think? If they're already disgruntled, they already hate your business, then you don't have to worry about salvaging the relationship. You just care about the future relationships that you might have, the potential relationships that you might have in the future, your future students, right? So that's what you care more about. So those are 3 things, right? So I already forgot all 3, but but those are the 3 things I mentioned, right? So keeping the reviews up, responding, and also put a ticket in if it's really that bad. So. Okay, let's keep going with the checklist here. So we talked about Google reviews. That's a really big part of it here. Messages. So if you do enable it, make sure they respond fast, because the faster you respond to the message, the better signal you get. If it goes longer than a day, then it starts hurting you. So it starts hurting your reputation, right? Responses, I kind of went through that as well. If you have a bad one, it's a great opportunity to showcase your professionalism to potential future customers. Always add images and posts. So a lot of times for our flight schools, we do at least a monthly blog post. All our flight schools we work with, we put a monthly blog post on their website. And what we'll do is we'll also link that post on the a Google Business Update. And then this one's for your own benefit too. Just check your insights, see how many people are looking at it, kind of see the trend that you have there. You also have analytics you can use. You can also have other stuff out there. But this is probably, this is more for your benefit, just to see how you're doing. All right. That's it. That's like 80% of the work here. That's it right here. We're going to go very briefly. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we're going to go over the verification stuff. So if you have a Google business profile, maybe you expanded, maybe you changed location. Maybe you had one office, hangar here, and then you wanted to get a bigger office in the same airport, so you changed the address to the same airport. Now, if it's different than having another location. Another location is like another business profile. But if you have the same location, but you moved to another address, a lot of times this will pop a flag in Google. And well, so this is kind of a guide to get past that, right? So Right Rudder Marketing, just give a small story here. We changed our address a few times. We were using a virtual mailbox over in Farmington a few times. And we were using what do you call it? We were using a virtual mailbox in Farmington for a while. And then we finally got, this office here in St. Louis. And when I changed the address in Google Business, guess what happened? It got rejected. So, or not rejected, it got flagged and said, hey, we need to verify your profile. So that involved taking video, it involved giving them documents and stuff like that. I had to give them like the rent agreement. I had to give them, the articles of incorporation, all in efforts to get my GMB back up and running. So it's not unheard of to go through this, but a lot of the standard process is through a video, right? And what they're going to see is the signage, right? That's the biggest part. So having a logo, maybe just get a sticker with your sign, make that video in there. They want business cards, vehicle branding, airplane. I'm sorry, I should say airplane branding. My bad. Have some branding on there. If you have T-shirts there, whatever it is. If you don't have your logo designed yet, then it's kind of you can ask Canva or Fiverr someone to do it for you, or you can just do it yourself. MS Paint, or other software, Photoshop. You can create your own logo. But most flight schools already have a logo that they have right now. So just make sure you get that logo somewhere in the video. I'm going to gather the images, and then you also want to gather the documents too, because there's two different things that might happen. You might have to do a live video, or you might have to just do a document submission. So this kind of covers both of them, right? If it's the document submission route, then make sure you get the images here, like outside your location, the street sign. I was talking about the registration, insurance, licensing, and sometimes they ask for a bill. Anything that you can provide to the Google that shows that you're a legitimate business is right here. So have that in preparation in case the video prep doesn't go through, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to get verified. I don't have a specific example because all my business profiles are live right now. But make sure you just read the instructions and be attentive to whatever they give you. So a lot of times they say start outside. You want to introduce yourself. Make sure you claim ownership of the business. This is typically the owner of the business doing this. Make sure you're aware, company branding, show equipment. They're going to want to see outside the building, and they're going to see inside. And when they see inside, basically you have two spots they want to look at. You want to have the public facing where customers kind of work at. Then you have a private office. So sometimes we've had examples of people doing like a closet because like we didn't have a private office, just one hangar space, we did have some type of room or a closet or broom closet where you can just say, hey, this is the private office. Privacy is not public. And then they might ask, it's a prompt that comes up on the video. It says, what can they do? What can they not do? And make sure that, they show you have a physical location. Okay, if you get rejected. So a lot of times, I kind of talk about this with the reviews. If you get rejected, if you have a bad review, what you're going to do is just submit a ticket. So I hate to say it like that, but Google is kind of this big conglomerate, multi-billion-dollar company with multiple locations everywhere besides, California. They're also in like India and all that stuff. So what you're going to want to do is create a ticket and try to request a live video call because that's usually the best process to get it done as fast as possible. If they agree to the video, you're going to go through the same process of walking around with the camera, typically your phone. Have your phone with you. You're going to just say, hey, this is my office. This is the hangar. This is our airplanes. This is where people enter. Here's our private office. And it's done. And it's typically all they ask for you, right? They say, okay, you're approved, and they go. Second time, they might reject again. In that case, all that document stuff we were talking about earlier, like your articles of incorporation, insurance, liability, all that type of stuff, utility bills, those are all examples you can kind of upload to Google. And then usually, as long as it has your legal name on there and it matches your GMB and your address, it will be verified. That's usually about it as far as, that stuff. If you need help, by the way, just, give us a call. I think 804-1200 is our phone number here. And that's really about it. So let's go through some specific examples of some of what I just talked about. And let's see your questions. So can you show insights on how to interpret? Yeah, sure, I can do that really quick. So these are different examples in here. This is not as going to be as popular as here, but typically under here you can go to performance. It has like your stuff here. And that's really the amount of people interacting in their business, right? So for Right Rudder Marketing, we had about 300 people look us up. For Sun City, a little higher, about 2,000 people. Bigger scale, it's a flight school, right? So you can kind of see the people there. What they'll do, if you have a Google Business profile, by the way, they're gonna send you an email with all this stuff, right? So who here has received an email with like percentages of like people calling, people asking for directions? Anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we get them.
Yeah, okay. So this is the exact same data that you're gonna see here. And basically it's like number of calls that came from your business, number of messages that people, it's not very popular, to be honest with you. Directions, people asking for directions to your business. This is a really solid Google Business profile right here. They have about almost 2,000 people looking at them. So let's go over some specific examples. They have the flight schools, that's the category. By the way, if you want to look at the category, so if you edit services, we have flight school as the primary category here. And then we have our second category was advanced aviation training or something like that. We have all these different like services and products that we added in here. So that's the services. Another one was the products, right? So products is something that we don't use, that people don't see very often, but this is the example of it. You add it via here, edit products. And basically what you can do is you add a product, and we just chose the services that they did. So Wingman course is what they do for, it's specific to this school. Their idea is basically a course for non-pilots. So imagine you're flying and then you might have maybe a health issue. It's a course for your wife or your husband or your loved one to take, that way you kind of understand, hey, what's the basics to know how to fly? And that's kind of their offering here. They have some information in here. What I want to show is the photo. You can geotag the photo. You can add a price if it's relevant. I don't usually add the price there, unless it's, if you want to do the you go asking about a store, you can. This is one way to do it here too. Add the product price there. Description. We usually have a lot of keywords in there. Typically, it's like the first paragraph of the page. And then you also link to the actual page where this is relevant. So for example, Wingman training, let's hope that this is working. Yeah, Wingman course. So that's the products, one of our services, messages, reviews. Those are the big ones. And then the other one that I like to mention as well is the description. So we'll talk about the description a few times. So Hollywood, South Florida, Pembroke Pines, Miramar, Dive. These are all different municipalities that are in their local area. We also get into the services. So we just said discovery flight. We say private pilot certificate, instrument, commercial, CFI, ATP. We also have another keyword in here, North Perry Airport, KHWO, Hollywood, Florida. Those are all different types of keywords we did for the location as well. So that's it. The last one I kind of want to go over is the update. So adding an update, those are the posts. So make sure if you have a blog post, if you're doing a blog, which I recommend for every single flight school, I used to put some type of content out there. That way your website's continually expanding, linearly or exponentially every month. You add these, you add a blog post and then you add the event or the post to the Google Business profile. So Right Rudder Marketing, we post articles like every other week or so. We did the same thing here too. We did the articles right here. So, and basically that goes to like a blog, So for example, learn more, takes it to a blog. Boom. Same thing for, let's say, High Tide. Let's go to High Tide, this next one right here. So High Tide, they have, this is pretty recent, May 21, so last month. Talking about FAA medical certificates, sign up, boom, right there. So you got a form that goes directly to it. Now, are people going to click this? Is the question I might get. Are people going to click this link? The answer is maybe, maybe not. You never really know what they're going to do, but you want to provide as much options as possible, right? Last thing I'll go off of here too is for geotagging. There's some services you can do. You can also use GIMP. There's a free software they can use to actually manually add the lats and longs into the photo. So you can use GIMP software, but there's also other type of like Google optimization profile software you can use too. But this is the free one that I would recommend. We'll talk about Riverside a little bit. We talk about High Tide. Red Arrow, same thing here too. So Red Arrow is another flight school that we kind of work with. Address, phone number, products, reviews, updates, all the stuff, all the above, right? So I've been talking for about 50 minutes now. So who has questions? We're gonna open the floor up for the last 10 minutes here. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer as far as SEO, we can even branch further with ads and all that stuff. We have a decent amount of people in the room still, so I'll let the floor be open for a bit, and if you don't have any questions, we can end here. No questions.
Can you show a demo on that insight, the one that you were talking about, and how would you interpret the numbers in the insight?
Yeah.
Maybe that would
go
help
back on
us.
insight stuff.
Yeah. I drop
So
a
let's
little
go back to
link.
some. So there's two things you kind of go here. I'll just talk about industry standard numbers, right? So we work with a wide variety of flight schools. Some are just starting out, they just started like this year or last year. Other flight schools have been in business for years, right? The highest I think I've seen is like for business profile interactions. So interactions count for your views, it counts for calls, messages, basically every single one of these. Website clicks, directions, bookings, messages, and also views. That's what this is referring to. And you'll see like this is a pretty established school as well. They had about 2,200, right? Now then you have someone like myself. I work direct with just flight schools. I don't work with like, direct to consumer. I do business to business. So my number is much lower. For me, my number is around 300, I think. 200, 300, yeah. So it really depends. Now, I've seen flight schools start out, they're around 500, 600, 700, to be honest with you, as far as the number of interactions go. You want to get around 1,000, to be honest with you, because 1,000 probably means that your website is also getting around 1,000 visitors per month. And if you have 1,000 visitors per month on your website, that typically means you have about 100 or so leads coming in. If you have about 100 leads coming in, that means you're probably getting at least 10 discovery flights per month, at least, at minimum. And out of those discovery flights, you're going to have 5 or 4 signups that actually go for there. So think about that on scale. If you, let's say we're talking about 1,000, if you're only 500 views, you might only get like 1, 2 students a month, to be honest with you, like that keep going like continuously. Let's talk about other insights that were in there. So that's the main one I kind of look at is the overview. Calls, so people bring that phone number. So what will happen with Google is that when you hit this call button, whatever this phone number button, it will patch it through actually a Google router and then go to the actual business first. It's a really weird kind of thing to do. But that's how they track the number of calls that are coming from the Google business profile. Another one here too is directions. So another signal that you can also do to Google that I didn't mention earlier, but I did make a video about it probably in February, is have your team members ask for directions to Google to work. So they might already know where you're going. They might already know where the flight school is. But if you actually search your name, your flight school name, and get directions to go to work every day, it will help drive this up, and it'll help signal to Google better. And it's just one more thing in the toolbox, right? So you want to always have people ask for directions. A lot of this is going to be driven by your customers, but you can also influence it internally your way. Website clicks. This is how many people actually clicked from the Google business profile. So for this client right here, for this flight school, Sun City, I don't know if anyone from there is on right now. Let's see here. I don't see them right now, but they have about 1,300 or so from direct links, I believe, if I remember the numbers right. About 1,300 direct people going in there, and this is a lot of it was contributed from here. It's 908, so definitely a good thing there. But these are all the performance that that's all the kind of metrics you're gonna see on the GBP profile, GMB profile. Now, there is another thing you can do that most people have. It's called analytics, kind of go into metrics and stuff like that. I won't get too deep, too hardcore here. But most people have, and we'll bring up the same examples here, Sun Cities, for example. So right here, they have like 700, and those are, you can go very, very granular with the data that's on here. Even right now, so these people user per minute, you can see where they're coming from. I think even when you view countries and stuff like that, you can even view the local municipalities, I believe it was. Demographic details, you can do overview. Yeah, you have the users by city in here, view cities. So these are all different kind of metrics in here. I don't want to like get too in depth here, but the most thing that we care about as a business owner is how many people are filling out our form, how many people are actually talking to us and calling our phone, right? And these are all what I want to call leading indicators. So the number of clicks that you get on your website, it's going to indicate eventually how many form submits you get, right? And a lot of this is driven by your location on the search ranking. So we were looking up Riverside, I kind of lost it here. If your flight school is not showing up when people look at Riverside Flight School, these numbers as a whole will decrease, right? You're not going to have as much traffic. You're not going to have as much GMB interactions. You're not going to have many leads coming in. They all work in tandem with one another. So good question. Thanks, Tony.
Oh, on the
Any other
directions.
questions you have?
So on the directions,
Yeah.
Tim. So if I already use it today, then I try it again tomorrow. Will that count as 2 or just count as 1?
Counts 2. It's
That's 2. Okay.
It's an absolute number, yeah.
it's
So
good-
the more
it's good
times
ad-
people
it's
of your
good- it's a
team
good
is actually
advice
calling.
So it's a good advice to to the company staff to have some sort of a mandate, to get our to get our company up there is to do when you go to work, just plug in that directions, and that's probably the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even though you know what.
Now take this for consideration too, though. So you look at here, we're only talking about 10 to 13% of the entire thing. So
Okay.
This was what I brought up earlier when we first started the call, right? Was what is the actual percentage, or what are the different signals to Google, right? And about 40-50% is actually the website itself, and the other half is off page. And all of the off page GBP, GMBs only contributes about 10 to 13%. The other one is your social media, and the other one is also your backlinks and directory listings. So
But your site creates your blog, so that's part of the GMB. So that kind of related.
Right, you link the two together, right? So you have a blog post, you're already adding content, which is on here, on-site content composition right here, and then you actually add it to your GBP, and then that's another one info. So it's another, you're playing on two signals here. When you get the reviews, that kind of goes in here as well. So you have your engagement, right? So think about that, all of them work in tandem, right? So you have your website, you have your GBP, you have your social media, you have your reviews, you have engagement. All these have to be working at the same time. And Google will know if you're a busy company or not. I mean, they'll see people, they have that, I don't know if you saw that, the are you busy, like the hours, whatever. Does that have that in there? One of the companies we showed had like the hours of like people showing like, hey, how busy is it? Like if you go to a restaurant, you can see that as well. Google knows because people ask for directions, they have location tracking, they have all that type of stuff. And if people aren't interacting with it, you're just not going to rank high. So how do you rank high? You do all these things that we talked about: the keywords, the reviews, the updates, the posts, the photos. You want to make sure you add all those things, otherwise you're going to stay low. And it's kind of unfair in a way, because the top 3 gets 80% of the bite, right? And like the other people get everyone else has to share the 20%. So you really want to make sure you have as much possible to become the top 3. Okay, we have 1 minute left. I'll open up for one more question. Otherwise, we should end here.
Don't forget to send the keywords to everybody.
We will send the keywords out. So we have a keyword checklist that we're building out, and we will also send that to you shortly. But the main one we sent out as well was the this bad boy here, this one right here. So, yeah. Anyone else? All right, so it's 3 o'clock here at my time, so we've been at it for an hour. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any tips or needs, just give me a call, 314-804-12000. You can also reach out to my team, go to our website, check out their stuff. All the stuff we talk about on our website as well. So a lot of free resources on the website as well. So check us out. And if you need help with your marketing, we're always here to help, so glad to talk to you guys. Thanks for everyone calling on the Zoom. Really appreciate you guys hopping on here. We do webinars every month. We will have our next webinar actually in 2 weeks. It's not really a webinar, it's a podcast more so. We are actually going to be interviewing one of our partners, Milivate. They help with skill bridge programs for military veterans for flight schools. So we'll send the invite out link next week, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, hopefully. So I'll see you guys later, all right?
Right. Thank you.
See ya.